After I drove for hours to help my family and give my sister a ride to the reunion, she turned to me with a smirk and said, "Thanks for the lift, but no one actually wants a mechanic there." I laughed, turned around, and left her right where she deserved. I dismissed it, drove away, and called off the tow I'd arranged for Uncle Ray's pickup. I smirked and set off for a solitary retreat in the Smokies. The following day, my device illuminated as I stood in the community center's stone parking area, the faint scent of lubricant still on my hands. My fingers bore the marks of grime from earlier, having fine-tuned my sister Lauren's classic Mustang. She had pleaded with me for weeks to get it operational for her grand arrival at our family gathering, and I came through. I'm a technician, always have been, the person who ensures everyone's vehicles are in motion. Beneath the sparkle of string lights, the atmosphere hummed with laughter and the chime of glasses. Then Lauren lifted her drink, her voice cutting through the noise. "Hey Jake, appreciate the lift, but nobody wants a mechanic at the reunion." She grinned, her new fiancé Matt chuckling beside her as if sharing a private jest. The assembly froze, cousins, aunts, uncles, some offering strained laughs, others fixating on their servings of potato salad. I was in my worn flannel, boots scarred from working under her car, and her words struck me like a heavy tool. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile, murmuring, "Guess not," before retreating towards the shadows of the parking area. Inside, something fractured, not loudly, just a soft break. I'd dedicated weeks to that Mustang, sourcing components with my own funds, sacrificing rest to make it purr. I'd driven her 2 hours here so it could gleam, and now I was the punchline. Standing there, I observed them celebrating her engagement, her flawless existence with Matt, her golden hair catching the light. Me? I was merely the individual in the corner, unnoticed save for the marks on my sleeves. The ache wasn't just her remarks, it was the truth they conveyed. I'd been rectifying their blunders my entire existence, and this was my acknowledgement. As the music began and they swayed, I made a decision. I was finished being their oil-stained rescuer. No more, not after this evening. I didn't rest following the gathering. I sat in my truck, engine off, gazing at the dashboard as if it could explain why I'd allowed things to progress so far. Lauren's smirk replayed in my mind, that glint in her gaze as she turned me into a jest. I'd spent years keeping her life on track, literally. When she wrecked her first car, intoxicated and weeping at 2 a.m., I towed it to the garage, mended it for no charge, and never uttered a word. When she abandoned her barista employment because coffee odors are awful, I covered her rent so she wouldn't lose her dwelling. Mom's van breaking down last winter? I towed it, rebuilt the transmission, and absorbed the expense while Lauren pursued some photography ambition that never yielded income. I didn't attend trade school, couldn't afford it because I was too occupied working double shifts at the garage to sustain us all. She got to dream, I got calluses. By dawn, I was done brooding. Uncle Ray had cornered me at the reunion, complaining about his truck's damaged axle. "Jake, you're the only one who can fix it cheaply," he'd stated, patting my shoulder as if I owed him. I'd arranged a tow for him that night, but now I retrieved my phone, canceled it with a swift message. "Figure it out." Then I browsed accommodation websites, fingers trembling, and reserved a cabin in the Smokies. 3 days, no internet, just me and the timber. Lauren messaged as I packed a bag. "Jake, where'd you go?" "Mustang's stalling again." "Matt's furious." I let out a dry, hollow laugh and didn't respond. Let her handle it. At my apartment, I rummaged through a shoebox beneath my bed, finding crumpled and faded receipts. $3,214.67 total for her Mustang over 2 years, spark plugs, brake pads, a new carburetor, all on me. I'd skipped outings with friends, declined extra hours that could have padded my savings, just to witness her delight when that car roared to life. And what did I receive? "Nobody wants a mechanic." The words stung, but they awakened me. I'd been their service crew, their cash machine, their grunt, never their equal. I recalled last Christmas, when I'd handed Lauren the keys after a complete overhaul. She'd embraced me, certainly, but then boasted to Matt's affluent parents about restoring it herself. I dismissed it, as I always did. My phone vibrated again, Mom this time. "Lauren says you abandoned us. What's wrong with you?" "Nothing," I longed to shout. "For once, nothing." But I didn't reply. I tossed the receipts back into the box, grabbed my keys, and headed for the truck. The drive to the Smokies spanned 4 hours, and I cranked the radio to drown out the creeping remorse. I'd always been the problem solver, Dad's truck when he lost his employment, Aunt Kim's sedan when her ex took the better vehicle. I'd mended tires, mended lives, and received nothing but grime under my nails and a pat on the head. Lauren was the star, 28, charming, always figuring things out while I picked up the slack. She'd flunked out of art school on my dime, laughed it off with, "Thanks, bro, you're the best," and I'd smiled like an imbecile. Halfway up the mountain, I pulled over, the engine ticking as it cooled. The air smelled of pine, sharp and pure, nothing like the oil-soaked garage. I leaned against the hood, gazing at the valley below. I'd forfeited my chance at a better position last year, lead mechanic at a larger shop, because Mom pleaded with me to remain local for family. Lauren had thrown a tantrum when I even mentioned relocating. "You can't leave me with that piece of junk car." So I stayed, hunched over engines, while she posted selfies with captions about living her truth. Her truth was built on my effort. I reached the cabin at dusk, a shaky dwelling with a sagging porch. Inside, I dropped my bag and opened a beer from the 6-pack I'd brought. My phone illuminated again. "Lauren, seriously, Jake, fix this. We're stranded tomorrow if you don't." Stranded? Like I hadn't been stranded my entire life, bound to their needs. I powered it off, took a long sip, and allowed the quiet to settle. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing to someone's rescue. I wasn't certain what lay ahead, but I knew one thing: they'd have to manage without me now. That Mustang could rust for all I cared. The Smokies were peaceful that first morning, mist swirling through the pines, the cabin groaning as if stretching awake. I'd turned my phone off last night, but curiosity got the better of me. I powered it on over coffee, and it buzzed like an agitated beehive. Lauren's name flashed first, a voicemail from 7 a.m. "Jake, the Mustang died on the highway last night. Matt missed a dinner with his biggest client. You owe us for this. You bailed when we needed you." Her voice was all sharp edges, no hint of the sister who'd relied on me for years. I deleted it, my jaw tight. She hadn't even inquired about my well-being, just assumed I'd jump back under the hood. Then Mom texted, "Lauren's stranded at some gas station. You need to fix this, Jake. Family doesn't ditch family." I stared at the screen, the words blurring. Family? Funny how that only applied when they required something. I stepped onto the porch, the cold wood biting my bare feet, and tried to dispel the anger rising in my chest. I'd spent 3 days up here to clear my mind, not to be pulled back into their chaos. But then I opened Facebook, a foolish move. Lauren had posted a photo of the Mustang, pulled over on the side of I-40, captioned, "Thanks to my deadbeat brother for screwing us over. Car's toast, night's ruined." Comments accumulated swiftly. "Typical Jake," wrote a cousin I'd towed out of a ditch last spring. "Always unreliable," said a high school friend who'd borrowed my tools for free. My throat burned. I'd poured 2 years into that car, my money, my effort, and she twisted it into a falsehood. She didn't mention the reunion, her smirk, or how I'd driven her there in a Mustang she'd never have afforded herself. She just portrayed me as the unreliable one. I tossed the phone onto the couch and paced the cabin, the floorboards groaning beneath me. That post wasn't just a slight, it was a deep wound. People I'd assisted were accepting her narrative, nodding along as if I were the one at fault. I grabbed my keys, tempted to drive back and shove the truth in her face, but the mountain air halted me. I came here to escape, not to crawl back. So I stayed, brewed another pot of coffee, and sat by the window, watching deer forage through the undergrowth. The fury didn't dissipate, it simmered, slow and steady, like an overheating engine. By afternoon, I hiked down to a creek, the rush of water loud enough to silence my thoughts. I kept seeing her smirk from the reunion, but now it was sharper, crueler, with that post attached. She'd always been adept at manipulating situations, weeping to Mom when I wouldn't drop everything, charming Dad into believing she was the injured party. I let it pass because she was my younger sister, years younger, the one I was meant to protect. But this was her twisting the blade in public, knowing I'd see it, knowing it had spread. I kicked a stone into the stream, watched it disappear. I'd resolved her problems since she was 16, her fender bender, her dead battery in a snowstorm, her urgent oil change before a date with Matt. And now I was the deadbeat. Back at the cabin, I checked my phone again. Couldn't resist. More messages. Dad, Lauren's a wreck. Are you going to step up or what? Aunt Kim, heard you left her high and dry. Not cool, Jake. Nothing from Lauren, just her enforcers piling on. I almost composed a reply, a lengthy one with every receipt I'd kept, every favor I'd done. But what was the point? They'd viewed me as the grease-stained grunt for years, dependable until I wasn't. I shut the phone off again, grabbed a beer, and sat outside as the sun descended. The quiet was supposed to feel pleasant, but it didn't, not yet. It was heavy, like the moment before a storm breaks. I considered calling Kara, my ex. She'd always claimed Lauren manipulated me effortlessly, that I'd never realize it until it shattered me. I hadn't listened then, but now her words resonated. I didn't text her, not ready for that. But I knew one thing, Lauren's post wasn't just a falsehood, it was a boundary. She'd cast me as the antagonist to protect herself, and I wasn't returning to mend it this time. Let her figure out how to start that Mustang. I was done turning the key for her. I returned from the Smokies on Tuesday, the cabin's stillness still clinging to me like damp air. The drive home was lengthy, my truck's hum a constant companion. I'd kept my phone off since Lauren's Facebook stunt. But the moment I entered my apartment, Dad's name illuminated the screen. I answered, bracing for the guilt trip. Jake, he said, voice low and firm. Lauren's telling everyone you stole parts from her Mustang before the reunion. Says that's why it broke down. People are furious. I froze, the duffel sliding from my shoulder. Stole parts? I paid for every single bolt, hundreds from my own funds, and she turned it into theft? She's lying, I stated, my voice flat. Dad grunted. Well, she's got half the family believing it. You need to sort this out. He hung up before I could argue. I sank onto the couch, the weight of it settling in. First the deadbeat post, now this, a full-blown defamation campaign. I opened the family group chat, and there it was. Uncle Ray, heard Jake ripped off Lauren's car. Explains a lot. Aunt Kim, disappointing, but not surprised. My cousin Tara. Always knew he was shady. Shady? I towed Tara's Jeep out of mud 2 summers ago, no charge. I'd rebuilt Ray's pickup for a pittance. My hands trembled as I scrolled. Years of favors erased by Lauren's fabrication. She'd taken my labor, my money, and now my reputation, twisting it to evade her own blunder. I could hear her smirk in every word they typed. I couldn't sit still. I grabbed my keys and drove to her place, a duplex she'd only kept because I'd covered her deposit. She opened the door in a bathrobe, hair disheveled, as if I'd interrupted her perfect existence. What now, Jake? She snapped. Matt lounged on the couch behind her, smirking too. You're telling people I stole from you? I said, holding up a folder of receipts, each time-stamped. This proves I paid for it all. She rolled her eyes. You're just envious I'm advancing. Matt's got a genuine profession, clients, not carburetors. Matt snorted. Grease monkeys don't comprehend it, man. You're out of your depth. I dropped the folder on her doorstep. Read it or don't. I'm done. She laughed, sharp and cold. You'll regret walking away. We're family. You don't get to quit. I turned and left, her words clawing at me as I climbed into my truck. Regret? The only regret was how long I'd let her exploit me. Back home, I poured a whiskey and sat at my kitchen table, the folder's contents spread out, $3,214.67 in black and white. I thought family meant allegiance, but to her, it meant a free ride. My phone vibrated. Kara, my ex, replying to a message I'd sent from the Smokies. Her message was brief. Good. I saw the post. She's garbage for that. I typed back. She's claiming I stole now. Can't win. She replied quickly. You don't have to stop trying. I stared at that for a long time. Kara had departed 3 years ago, weary of watching me bend over backward for Lauren's crises. Her car, her rent, her complaints. You're better than their punching bag, she'd stated then. I hadn't believed her. Now I did. The whiskey burned going down, but it steadied me. Lauren's falsehood wasn't just about the Mustang. It was about keeping me insignificant, the subordinate who'd always yield. I'd spent my 20s supporting her while she drifted through boyfriends and poor decisions, always with that "thanks, bro" grin that never reached her eyes. Matt's taunt stung too. Grease monkey. As if my occupation were a joke, not the foundation that kept their lives functioning. I leaned back, the chair creaking. I could contest this post, present my own evidence online, expose her. But why? They'd already chosen their allegiance, her charm over my truth. I finished the glass and made a decision: no more fuel for her fire. Let her weave her tales. I wasn't rectifying this one. 2 days after leaving the receipts at Lauren's, an email landed in my inbox. Her name in bold. Subject: you owe us. I opened it, anticipating another jab, but it was worse: a bill for $1,800. Emergency repairs for the Mustang, $1,200, plus $600 for emotional distress from the reunion and the highway breakdown. A line at the bottom read, "Pay by Friday or we'll tell everyone you're avoiding responsibility." I laughed, dark and loud, and shredded it in my paper shredder, the noise drowning out the thud in my chest. She wasn't just fabricating now, she was extorting me, banking on my old habit of capitulating. Not this time. I grabbed my laptop and a USB stick I'd been filling since the Smokies, screenshots of her pleading messages, receipts, that Facebook post labeling me a deadbeat, and now this. I was done playing defense. Saturday arrived, and Mom called about a family barbecue at their place. "We need to talk, Jake," she said, voice soft, as if preparing a guilt trip. I almost declined, but something clicked. Why conceal myself? I'd go, and I'd bring everything. I arrived at 6 p.m., truck parked askew in their driveway, a backpack slung over my shoulder. The backyard was bustling, Dad flipping burgers, Aunt Kim sipping lemonade, Lauren and Matt whispering by the picnic table. They all fell silent when I walked in. I placed my laptop on a folding chair, plugged in the USB, and stated, "You've had your say. Now it's mine." Mom fidgeted. "Jake, don't create a scene." I disregarded her and pressed play. First up, messages from Lauren from 2022. "Jake, car's dead again, please help, you're the best." Next, the receipt folder, $3,214.67, my name on every line. Then her post. "Deadbeat brother screwed us over." I paused it. "That's after I rebuilt her Mustang for free," I began. "Uncle Ray, Tara, even Dad," I clicked again. A voicemail from last week, Lauren complaining. "You owe us for the client dinner Matt missed." Finally, the email, projected large on the screen, $1,800 demanded, her signature at the bottom. "She claims I stole parts too," I added, voice steady. "Check the dates. I paid for it all." Silence hung thick, broken only by a cricket chirping. Lauren stood, face red. "You're distorting this. You abandoned us." Matt nodded, arms crossed. I looked at her, as calm as I could manage. "Abandoned? I've been your mechanic, your bank, your doormat. You lied, said I stole, and now you're billing me for your outburst?" Mom stepped forward, hands wringing. "It's a misunderstanding, Jake." "She didn't mean it," I interrupted her. "She meant every word. So did you, by standing by it. Dad slammed the spatula down. You're tearing this family apart over a car. I turned to him. No, Dad. I'm done being your spare tire. You let her malign me twice now, and you're still defending her. I pulled out my phone, opened an email draft I'd prepared for the entire family, plus Lauren's boss at the boutique where she worked part-time. She'd boasted there about my useless brother. Last month, I'd heard it from a coworker friend. I attached the USB files, every falsehood exposed. This goes out in 10 minutes, I declared. Let them decide who's the deadbeat. Lauren lunged for the laptop, but I shut it. You're nothing without us, she shrieked. I met her gaze. I was nothing with you. That's the difference. Matt muttered. Pathetic. But he wouldn't look at me. I zipped my backpack. Enjoy the burgers. Hope they taste better than your excuses. I walked to my truck, the air cool against my face. Mom called after me. Jake, please. I didn't turn. I hit send on the email from the driver's seat, the whoosh sound cutting through years of silence. My hands didn't tremble, not anymore. I drove off, the barbecue shrinking in my rearview mirror, and felt something new, light, as if I'd dropped a toolbox I'd been hauling since I was a child. Lauren could scream, Dad could fume, but I'd laid it all out. No more shadows to conceal their garbage. I turned up the radio, some old rock song about breaking free, and let it carry me home. They'd see the truth now, or they wouldn't. Either way, I wasn't their fix-it guy anymore. I didn't go home after the barbecue. I drove west, pursuing the sunset until I reached a lake in Tennessee, the water dark and still under the stars. My truck's engine purred, my hands, my work, and for once, it wasn't transporting someone else's wreckage. The email I'd sent had detonated by morning. Lauren texted, You're dead to me. Matt abandoned her, and Tara called to say the family was in disarray. Good. Let it burn. Her lies, labeling me a deadbeat, a thief, had cut deeply, but they'd also liberated me. I parked by the shore, opened a beer, and inhaled. No guilt, no buzzing phone, just me. Kara met me there the next day, her pickup stirring up dust. Over beers, she grinned. You've got that fire back, Jake. Took you long enough. We didn't rekindle anything, but her pride mended a wound I hadn't acknowledged. Then my phone illuminated. Strangers. After Tara posted a rant on TikTok. Jake's a jerk, ruined us. It backfired. Comments poured in. He's a legend. Cut my own toxic sis off because of this. One struck hard. I stopped fixing my dad's life. Thanks, man. I wasn't aiming to be a hero, just to assert myself. Mom attempted one last plea, appearing at my place days later. We're lost without you, she said through the screen door, eyes moist. You lost me when you chose her lies, I replied, and shut it. Her footsteps receded, and I felt nothing but relief. I booked a road trip west, open highway, no deadlines. Lauren's Mustang was scrapped, last I heard, and she's navigating life alone. The family's fragmented, assigning blame, but I'm done caring. That night by the lake, I raised my beer to the sky and whispered, Thanks for the reunion. Freedom impacted harder than their approval ever could. I'd spent years under hoods, under their control, believing family meant enduring the blows. Now I understand it's a mutual path, and they'd left me in the ditch. I'm not their mechanic anymore. I'm just Jake, driving my own course, and that's sufficient. Thank you for watching the video. If this narrative resonated with you, please share your thoughts below. Your positive feedback may seem minor, but it provides me with the resolve to continue creating every single day. See you in the next one.